So thank you for coming to the class. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Balava Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Balava Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Bhagavad-Gita Srimad. His Divine Grace Sri Laisi Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Bhagavad-Gita Srimad. Divine Grace Srila Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Gokishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Thakur Bhakti Vinod Ki Jai. Sri Guru Parampara Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad-Gita Upanishad Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Go Premananda Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All together, please. Om Jnana Timirandasya Ganandana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrijatam Sahaganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Savetam Savadutam Prijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karana Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapcha Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhana Suradevi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakaupatarubyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavad-Gita as it is. Translation and commentary, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. So today's verse is 524. Chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. So, please repeat. Yonyaha Sukho ntaḥ-ārāmas tathāntar-jyotir eva yaha sa yogī brahma-nirvāṇaṁ brahma-bhūto dhigacchati ntaḥ-sukho ntar-ārāmas ntaḥ-ārāmas tathāntar-jyotir eva yaha sa yogī brahma-nirvāṇaṁ brahma-bhūto dhigacchati ntaḥ-sukho ntar-ārāmas tathāntar-jyotir eva yaha sa yogī brahma-nirvāṇaṁ brahma-bhūto dhigacchati ntaḥ-sukho ntar-ārāmas tathāntar-jyotir sar yogī brahma-nirvāṇaṁ brahma-bhūto dhigacchati. Yo ntaḥ-sukho ntar-ārāmas Yo ntaḥ-sukho ntar-ārāmas tathāntar-jyotir samyoga brahma-nirvāṇam brahma-bhūto dhigacchati. Yo ntaḥ-sukho ntar-ārāmas tathāntar-jyotir yoga brahma-nirvāṇam brahma-bhūto dhigacchati. Okay, word. Okay, go ahead. No, have a try. Go on. Yo ntaḥ-sukho narasta tathāntar-jyotir sa yoga brahma-nirvāṇam brahma-bhūto dhigacchati. Very good. Okay, word for word, please repeat. Yaha, one who, antaḥ-sukhaḥ, happy from within. Antaḥ-ārāmaḥ, actively enjoying within. Tathā, as well as. Antaḥ-jyotiḥ, aiming within. Eva, certainly. Yaha, anyone. Saha, he. Yogi, a mystic. Brahma-nirvāṇaṁ, liberation in the Supreme. Brahma-bhūtaḥ, being self-realized. Adhigacchati, attains. So, translation Srila Prabhupada. One whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme. Please repeat. One whose happiness is within, is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme. Purport Srila Prabhupada. Unless one is able to relish happiness from within, how can one retire from the external engagements meant for deriving superficial happiness? A liberated person enjoys happiness by factual experience. He can, therefore, sit silently at any place and enjoy the activities of life from within. Such a liberated person no longer desires external material happiness. This state is called brahma-bhūta, attaining which one is assured of going back to Godhead, back to home. Makam krochi vachalam pangam laite grim yed kripa tamaham bande Shri Guru ntaḥ-ārāmas yo ntaḥ-sukho ntar-ārāmas tathāntar-jyotir eva yaha sar yogī brahma-nirvāṇaṁ brahma-bhūto dhigacchati. One whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme. Yes, so he is inward. This means his attention is on spirit. This material world, we call it the material world, but actually it's a mixture of matter and spirit. We have the 5 gross earth, water, fire, air, ether, and we have the subtle elements. We have mind, intelligence, false ego, and we have chittam. Chittam is contaminated consciousness. The living entity in the material world is spirit soul, but he is never damaged or contaminated. He's never mutated. He is eternally the same. He is amazing. You remember in 2nd chapter. However, his consciousness is affected. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya said, Cetudāpanam marjanam. You must purify the consciousness. And then Bhava Nivagni Nivapanam. Then the effect of the material modes will become decreased. Because the consciousness of the spirit soul is focused on enjoying the material world. Therefore he's contaminated. Not himself, but his consciousness. The soul is above the material energy, but the consciousness is contaminated. We've given the example many times that you cannot affect the sun, but the sunlight you can contaminate, you can change, right? If the sunlight is there against the window, you can put a blue thing, blue light will come. You can put a yellow one, yellow light will come. A red one, red light will come. But the sun is not affected. So similarly, the soul is not damaged. There is that verse, Nainam chindanti shastrani nanam dahati pavaka, that the soul cannot be cut into pieces, cannot be withered by the wind, cannot be burned by fire, so on. Any material circumstance cannot damage the soul. But the soul, through his free will, is focusing on enjoying the material energy. Aham bhogi, I am the enjoyer. Ishvaroham, right? This is the material impulse. I want to control and enjoy the material world. So this is bahirmukh. In today's verse we see antirmukh, inward looking. That means looking to the soul. But the living entity in conditioned life, he is Anandamoy Beasat, he's looking for Ananda, naturally, but he's looking in the wrong place. This is the information given to Arjuna. And throughout the Vedic literature, Vedanta-krit Vedavid eva chaham, the Vedas are to give us vision of the Supreme. And Bhagavatam says, right, those that are knowers of the absolute truth know it is non-dual, but there are 3 aspects: Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, and Bhagavan. That there is the non-differentiated, the light of the effulgence, the brahma-jyoti of Krishna. And then there's Paramatma, Krishna's expansion for the supervision of the material world. And then there is Bhagavan, Leelamaya Krishna. in Golok, in Gokul, throughout the universe, enjoying pastimes of prem with his devotees. So they're non-dual, they're all spiritual. But we are paying attention to the external world. But the yogi is paying attention to one of those three aspects. There is the monist, he is paying attention to the Brahman, is meditating on the Brahman. Then the yogi, he is meditating on Paramatma, the Virat Rupa, the controller, the supervisor of the material world. And then the bhakta, he is paying attention to the Leela of Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya came for 5 reasons, we're told in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. 2 external and 2 internal. What does that mean? Well, the 2 external are to do with the material world. Advaita Acharya, of course his devotee, called him, please Lord Chaitanya, people are becoming so materialistic. They're not yogis, they're not interested in spirit. So you come. So that's one reason. Then the second reason is to spread the Sankirtan movement. Right? Kalo dosha nidai racham asti eka mahadgunan. This material world, especially Kali Yuga, is an ocean of fault. But ketanad eva krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajet. But by performing kirtan, kirtan means description of the Lord, hearing, chanting, smaranam, remembering the Lord, serving the Lord through the medium of the bhaktas, the spiritual masters, the elevated souls, one can touch spirit with one's consciousness. Therefore, Prabhupada mentions that, if you remember, in the purport. A liberated person enjoys happiness by factual experience. So Krishna consciousness, we don't say have faith, blind faith in some peculiar scripture or some funny tribal story. We say experience the Supreme. Then your faith will be rooted in realization, not in some kind of compulsion. If I don't have faith in this, I'll go to hell, so I better have faith. No. Our definition of Shraddha is faith through experience. Just like if you go to the restaurant, maybe, the MBT, and maybe you'll have experience, oh, it's a good restaurant. So you're not having faith, you're experiencing. So a yogi, he is experiencing the Supreme. So if we look at a person, we can look at 4 departments. We have this gross body that is full of the senses by which we perceive the external world, and it has the mind also. And then we have the mental body, like I say, mind, intelligence, false ego, and chittam. And then we have the soul, which is the source of consciousness. The manas is like the container. Just like in a container you can control water. So the chittam, the consciousness, is within the mind. And then the mind is within the gross body. Just like you have a sponge, you can put water in the sponge and the water will go throughout the sponge. So the mental body, subtle, will go throughout the gross body. Through the medium of the nervous system and the blood, it will perceive the external body. And then, because he's pleasure-seeking, he will try to enjoy this material world. And this is all supervised by the fourth component, Paramatma, the Supreme Lord. So 4 parts. You have the gross body, you have the subtle body, you have the spirit soul, and you have the Supreme Lord. And he is regulating everything. Nicho Nichanam Chaitanas Chaitananam Yoda Dadati Kaman. That he is fulfilling the desires of the living entity within the material world, within the material body. There's that verse, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hriday Se Arjuna Tistati, that I am within the heart of all living entities. I'm within the bodies of all living entities, and they are situated on a machine made of the material energy. And they are Brahmananda Brahmite. They're wandering through 8,400,000 species of life, trying to enjoy. And according to their pap and punya, they're going up and down in the material world. 14 lokas, right? We're on Bhuloka. Earth is called Bhu. Bhu means earth. Bhuloka, earth is very prominent. And then above us, then is Bhuvarloka. This is the land of spirits, many ghosts and demons and Rakshasa and so on and so forth. Above that, there is the Swargaloka. They have subtle bodies, just like the ghosts. Many ghosts, they don't have gross bodies. And then above that, there's Mahalok, Jnanalok, Tapalok, and at the top, Satyalok, the place of Lord Brahma. And everyone in those areas, they have some version of the material body. And that version of the material body is attuned to the particular material circumstances in that loka. Like we have a very earthy body, full of water, a little fire of digestion, air is within it, and it's within the ether. So that is important to understand. Actually, the material scientists, in their ignorance, they consider that the material laws in their quality and effect that we experience on earth, on this earth plane, Bhumandala, they are the same in Brahmaloka or in Mahaloka, Tapaloka. But no, different constructions are there. Different mixtures of earth, water, fire, air, ether, and spirit soul. For example, in the Mahabharata, there's description in the Bhagavatam of Apsaras. And in the Bhagavatam it says, the Apsaras, they don't need perfume. They may wear garlands, but the fragrance of the Apsaras spreads for miles around. So there's no perfume industry. And they are so beautiful that they steal away the heart of a man. They don't need plastic surgery. They don't need operations. And they live for thousands of years. And there is description in some of these lokas, different sections, that the woman, the Apsara or the female resident, she lives for thousands of years. But then in the final year of her life in that body, she becomes pregnant. And she has a child, and that means her resident in that heavenly realm is finished. And she may return Matyaloka, Vishanti, to the earth plane, Bhuloka, the Bhumanda system. So in this way, there's different conditions of the material and the mind and the supervision of Krishna throughout the upper planetary systems. And then below that, there is 7 more lokas. Below Bhumandala, there is Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, Patala. And even lower, there is Narak. So in those realms, that is where the impious living entities live, and there's description in the Bhagavatam that they may have bodies of lizard-like bodies, snake bodies. There's kinnaras. Kinnara means what? Is it a man? It means some beings throughout the universe. You see them and you think, Kinnara, is that a man? Or Kim Purusha. Kim Purusha, is it a man? They may have the body of a horse and the torso of a man. And then some will have the torso of a humanoid, and they may have an animal formation on the upper region. So this is in a snapshot form described in the Bhagavatam. So we think this is very fantastical, but actually just look at the Earth planet. What a fantastic creatures we have on this planet. For example, if you were from a different planet and I told you, well, on Earth we have gigantic animals, and they're 2 tons, and they have a nose that is 10 foot long, and with this nose they can take the hat off your head and put it on their head, and their teeth are 8 foot long sometimes, and their skin is 4 inches thick. So you may think, how is it possible? How is it possible, such a creature? You're just telling stories. An animal with a 10-foot nose? Huh? So we see many fantastic creatures in this world. We have creatures that can walk across the ceiling. Huh? We have birds that can fly in the sky, and from 20 miles they can see, oh, there's a dead body, that's my lunch. And they'll fly down there. Huh? So there's all these incredible creatures on this world, but the Bhagavatam explains that this variety that we find here in our particular section of Bhuloka, that is repeated throughout the material universes. And if you read in these lower planetary systems, it's even more fantastical. Huh? So these are all different ways of interacting with the material energy. And the living entity, through his pāpa and punya, and through his desire, his calm, he rotates samsara, the wheel of samsara, in this material world. But he is always frustrated. Dukkhalayam asāsvatam. That's what it is. Brahma-bhuvana loka purnar avajunarjuna. That Arjuna, from the top planet, where Lord Brahma, it is explained that Lord Brahma's planet is 95% Vaikuntha. And 5%, this is described like this for our edification, so we can understand. And 5% is Sattva-gun, the mode of goodness. So it is practically a Vaikuntha planet. But Krishna tells Arjuna, from Brahmaloka right down to the bottom, where the lizards and Patala is, all are places of misery, Dukkhalayam. Because you are a spirit soul, Arjuna, and you can't really enjoy matter. Because matter is dead. It has no rasa. And also, whatever you may attain, it is asāsvatam. You will lose it. Just like recently, right? In England, you may have heard the Queen, right? She passed on. She died. She was the longest servant. She was 70 years the monarch in England, or some incredible period. But it's temporary. You come into this world naked and you go out naked. But you carry your karma. So it's not nice. Maybe this life you're the king of Australia or somewhere like that. And then the next life you're a kangaroo. Because you're attached. So this material world, it's a miserable condition. If you go, people now, they go on the photo tours, right, of Africa. Before they used to shoot animals, now they shoot them through a photo. So if you go there, the animals are eating the giraffes and the impala and the water buffalo, and the tigers are eating this in India. Everyone is eating one another. It says that in the Bhagavatam, Jivo Jivasya Jivanam. The living entities, in the material world, one living entity is food for the other. And it even gives the categorization. It says, yes, the non-moving entities, like plants and trees, are food for the moving entities, right? The cows, the buffaloes, so on, the birds, they eat the non-moving entities. But they are spirit souls also. And then it says, the living entities without hands, like a cow or an antelope, they don't have hands, they have hoofs, are food for the living entities that have hands. So that means they can grasp things, like a tiger or a lion or a leopard or a bear. They have hands, they grasp the other moving entities and they eat them. And the general rule holds fast that the weak are the sustenance of the strong. This is Bhagavatam, first canto. That one living entity, we sometimes look, yes, oh, what a beautiful sunset. I'm on a photo tour of Africa, and look at the sunset, and look at the nature. But look at the nature. They're all eating each other. They're all chasing each other and biting each other's heads. And if you look under a microscope, one kind of microbe is eating the other. So this material world is dukkhalayam. We're transmigrating in a terrible condition. But we think we will conquer the odds. We have free will. Why is that? Because we are heroes. Krishna is a hero. And we are non-different from Krishna. We are Angsa. Krishna is a hero. He's Nayaka. He's the hero of Goloka. So we are also heroic. If you see people going to work in Delhi, hanging off the bus every morning, right? 10 people hanging out of the window. They're going to the office, the factory, working to support their family. They have 3 or 4 kids. They have the wife. It's very heroic, is it not? To go through that every day. But then, what do we get? We just get another life. But why are we heroic? Because Krishna's a heroic person. So, coming from the soul is this heroic feeling that I will continue, I will overwhelm, I will be vindicated. So, that heroic nature is misdirected. Here, the yogi is described, I'll say again, and three things are there. Ntaḥ-sukho ntar-ārāmas, one whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. So this is the yogi. Whereas inward means, like I say, this material world is a mixture of matter and spirit. But the yogi, he's not focused on enjoying matter in different ways. As a deva, as an asura, as a rakshasa, as an animal, as a plant, as a microbe. He's not fixed in that way. He is fixed in the absolute truth. The yogi. And it's interesting here, the translation in the word for word, he's a mystic. Mystic. So mystic means somebody who's interested in the mysterious, in the occult. Occult means that which is hidden, something which is beyond this material world, something which he understands is there through the Vedas and through the sadhus, but he hasn't quite grasped it yet. It's still mysterious. And our philosophy is achintya bed abed. Achintya. What does achintya mean? Achintya means beyond conception of the limited material mind. Now just think, Krishna is not just supervising our individual bodies, he's supervising the karma and the desires and the fulfillment thereof of every single living entity in the universe. Can you conceive of that level of consciousness? And then from the Bhagavatam we understand that there are billions of universes floating in the causal ocean. And Krishna is supervising everyone individually and perfectly. Their material body, their mind, their soul, their desire, their karma phal, the fruit of their action. Krishna is supervising that. That is achintya. A man has 3-4 children and the wife is there. The wife and the husband, they can hardly supervise 4 children properly. They're out of control. This is a material example. But the Supreme Lord is supervising unlimited spirit souls very perfectly and intimately. That is achintya. He has created millions and billions of universes, and this is but a fraction of the creation. It is explained the material, the Karanadak ocean is like 1/3, and the universe, the spiritual world is like 3/4. But that is just a hint, because the creation is unlimited. It's not that the spiritual world expands and expands and then at the edge there's nothing. Right? We think like that, don't we? But nothing means it doesn't exist. Actually, there is no such thing as nothing. If you look in the dictionary, nothing is the absence of anything. So the creation is unlimited. It is not that there is an end to the creation. Of course, we're in this material body and we have limited intellect, we have limited material power and bank balance, whatever. We live in the limited world. So achintya, how can we conceive of the unlimited Supreme Lord. Therefore, the Vedic philosophy is achincha bhed abhed. Inconceivable. That's the origin of the word mystic. Mystic. Because Krishna is ananta. He is unlimited. So how can we ever put a formula? This is the material scientists, right? They want to write a formula that explains everything. That explains magnetism, nuclear force, radiation. I'll write an equation. It all came from a big bang. They will never succeed because everything in the creation is achintya. Even when they are taking apart an atom and a molecule, first at school, do you remember, there was atoms, they were made of electron, protons, and neutrons, and now they're looking apart and they find there's quarks and there's this and there's dark matter and there's string theory and there's this. Well, we have our string theory actually. Sutre mani gana iva. Krishna explains. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung upon a thread. Matak parataram nanyad kinchid asti dhananjaya maya idam sarvam sutre mani gana iva. There's nothing beyond me. Vasudeva savamiti. Everything is Vasudev. We are angsa, mama angsa, jiva loke, sanatana, eternally. We are spirit beings. We know practically. Now we may be in our mature years, but I know that I'm the same person now as I was when I was learning to ride a bicycle. I have the same sense. That's a hint of our eternal nature. The mind and the body have changed, but I'm the same person. So if a spirit soul is a man in one life and the next life he becomes a dog, he still thinks I'm the same person. Still thinks. He has the same sense of individual personality. Id, as they say in psychology. So that is eternal. But we can understand that life goes on. We can get a hint in the Nectar of Devotion, Atak Shri Krishna Namadi Na Bhavad Graham Indriya Sevan Mukhi Hi Jivado Swayam Eva Spuryada. Rupa Goswami says that the Supreme Lord as Bhagavan, as Paramatma, and as the brahma-nirvāṇaṁ, he is beyond the range of the material senses. However, Sevan Mukhi Hi Jivado, by rendering devotional service, beginning with the tongue, hearing and chanting, taking prasad, practicing kirtan, Swayam Eva Spuryadam, Spurti. Spurti means, Sanskrit means, he becomes manifest, spontaneously, by the grace, causelessly. Ahoitiki apratiyata. So that's another sloka. That the Supreme Lord reveals himself to those that render service to him. That's what Prabhupada's talking about. The devotee, the yogi, factually experiences the Supreme. And I'm sure you can agree, right? You're all devotees, right? And there's three ways that the Supreme Lord reveals himself. That's given in Jaiva Dharma. One is Vak, one is Bhava, the other is Vak, and the other is Darshan. Bhava means you get some ecstatic realization of the Supreme Lord. Second one is the Supreme Lord speaks to you. You hear the voice of the Supreme Lord. You think it's coming here or there, but it's actually manifesting within your consciousness. And then divya gyan. Krishna tells Arjuna, I'll give you divya shakchus. And then the Supreme Lord reveals his form before the devotee. Spurti. Just like he did at the beginning of the Bhagavatam to Narada Muni. So, how? Sevan mukhihi jivado swayameva spuryadam. Savepum samparo dharmo yato bhaktir adhigacchati. Same idea. Krishna is adhigacchati. He's beyond the range of the material senses. Swayameva purya ahoitikiya pratyata. Then causelessly he reveals himself. That means without material cause. So, he's beyond the senses, then how am I perceiving him? That question may come, right? I'm looking at this world, I'm seeing you, people are walking around, they're seeing the traffic lights. So how do they see Krishna? The instrument of seeing Krishna is the consciousness of the soul. We are actually seeing everything through consciousness. We are looking through the senses of the material body. Our consciousness is looking through the eyes and seeing. Our consciousness is looking through the skin and feeling. Our consciousness is filtered through the ears and we are hearing. So on and so forth. So the yogi, his activity is given here. Now if you remember, last week we talked about equanimity. Do you remember the verse last week? That the devotee should be balanced, peaceful, not agitated by fame, infamy, heat and cold. He should be balanced. In this world, some people will speak badly to you, some people will speak nicely. Some days you'll feel good, some days you'll feel a bit tired, whatever. The duality of the material world, due to our relative interpretation of experience, will be there. But Krishna throughout, and if you look in the earlier chapters, Krishna always describes the sadhu and the yogi as being dhira. Dhirastatra namuyate. He is unmoved. He's steady in happiness, in distress, in good and bad, fame and infamy. Why? Because if we allow ourselves to be drawn out into the material world, he doesn't like me, I'm going to get revenge. This person did that, this person did that, he's my friend, he's my enemy. Then we become drawn out into the material world and we become distracted from the special facility of human life. Happiness within the consciousness, the purified consciousness, active within. He is doing smaranam. He is remembering Krishna. The Astakala Leela. Now at this time, the evening time, Radha and Krishna are preparing to meet Krishna in the groves. They've sent the duties, the messengers, and they have made an arrangement with Krishna. Radha is waiting for you in this particular Nikunja, on this particular bank of the Jamuna. You come at this place. So he's remembering Krishna. He's in this world, but he's remembering the spiritual world, active. And he's rejoicing within, because, as Prabhupada says, enjoys happiness by factual experience. As the consciousness becomes more and more purified, the spiritual world, by grace of Krishna, becomes more and more in view. And his aim is inward. He's not trying to enjoy this material world. You may be the Queen of England, but it's temporary. His aim is inward. He wants, as we quoted last week, muktir hitavanyata-rūpam swarupena avavishtate. He wants to be liberated from this world by being situated in his spiritual swarup. Jivara swarupoi nichera krishnadas. So he is performing sadhana bhakti. He's associating with sadhus. He is keeping away asatsangi chagi. He's tolerating the material world, matraspasas takundaya, shitoshna sukadukada. And he is aiming inward. He is performing sadhana, shravanam. He studies the Bhagavatam every day. And the Leela of Krishna, the Goswamis have written so much. He is understanding the philosophy. He is relating. What's that verse? Kathayanchas tamam nityam. He's always talking with devotees. What do you think about this? He finds devotees who are ready to discuss Krishna. Aim is inward, and he's realizing Krishna within himself. So he's the perfect mystic because he understands Krishna is unlimited. But that means in every way he's unlimited. He's unlimited in his mercy. And Lord Chaitanya is the embodiment of that unlimited mercy. So therefore, he's applying Gornitai. It's in the beginning of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, right? Lord Chaitanya says, I broke open the storehouse of love of God. And the more I took those fruits, the more the supply increased. So now I'm standing at the doorway and I'm saying, who will take these fruits? Who will take Krishna Prem? So the devotee knows that all I have to do, right? The question is there, that song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. The acharyas, they've opened a marketplace and they're selling Krishna. They're selling the holy name. And how will you get that Krishna? How will you get that full realization of Krishna? No, no, that's not, that is the good. But lolam, desire. Just like I've been explaining, through desire we have been trying to enjoy this material world. And we've been drawn into it. Now somehow or other we're in Vrindavan. We have the holy name. We have Prabhupada's books. We have Sadhu Sangha. Now, but do we have the desire? This is what we must cultivate. If you desire to go to the spiritual world, Krishna will take you there. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajitam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. Right? Tesham evanukam patham aham agyana jamtama nashya atmi bhavashto jnana deepena pashvita. He will give you the light of realization, factually. He will give you intelligence. But all you have to do is desire. Right? We have the ability to desire independently. That's why we can't supervise our children, right? We have children, we want to supervise them, but they have independence. Oh, eat your greens, eat your vegetables. No, I don't want to take them. Don't eat too many sweets, it's not good. No, I like sweets, give me more. So everyone, from a child to everyone throughout the universe has desire. Kama esha, krodha esha. But so the yogi controls his desire. I think there's a verse here. Oh yeah, it's the next one. Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, that means Rajagun and Tamagun, he is well situated and happy in this world. He's in the mode of goodness. Oh, this is the verse before. Those who are beyond the duality of the material world that arise from doubts, that means ignorance, they don't know the philosophy, their minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all beings, and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme. So Lord Chaitanya, he had his external reasons, but he also had his internal reasons. He wanted to understand the mood of service of Radharani. Then he wanted to feel the bliss that she felt. And he wanted to, through that bliss, to understand what is it about me that Radharani finds so attractive. These are the internal reasons. So yes, we have an external obligation to spread the holy name, to spread the Bhagavatam. But we should also be performing inward, internal reasons. We should be learning what is the mood of service. Gopi Bhata Kamalayo Dasa Das Anadas. What is that? What is that mood of service at every moment that is there in the spiritual world? Then we will get a little bliss, happy within. And through that bliss, Rupa Goswami explains, that through bhava, through ecstatic awakening, one realizes the Supreme. And then, Janma Kama Tame Divyam, once you understand that Krishna's Leela is divine, Takva Deham Punarjanma, Naitimam Eti Sarjana, you never take birth in this world, because your consciousness is flowing to the spiritual world. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So thank you for your kind attention. Any question?
Can you give an example of action within?
Action within, well, I just tried to.
Well, like a real world, like a comparison between somebody who acts within, like in the external world, and action within, like if you're dealing with external things, can I give an example of action within when you're dealing with external elements?
Yeah, well that's it later on in the Gita. Before we do something in the material world, we plan it, right? It may be instantaneous, we may be very spontaneous, but the idea comes in the consciousness, and then the mind and body try to enact that desire. So active within, it means that. Just like I gave the explanation, the Astakala Leela is described in the Sanat Kumar Samhita. It's in the Krishna Bhavanamrita. Prabhupada mentions that in Krishna book, that if you want to know the Leela of Krishna, then you should read Krishna Bhavanamrita, Vishwanath Chakravarti. Krishna Das Kaviraj has given the, like I say, the Astakala Leela, the Govinda Leela Amrita. So active within would be that. Just like in the material world, we formulate what I'm going to do. We wake up in the morning and we say, oh, I got to go to Mangalarti, then I've got to do this, then I've got this. We make a plan. We're active within the mind, right? Within the consciousness. So a devotee, the example is given by Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Devotion. Says a devotee is like a wife. The wife, she has a paramour, a secret lover, and her attention is there. She loves that secret lover. But she's living with the husband, and she's very attentive. She's cooking for the husband, looking after the children, keeping the house neat and clean. But her mind is always thinking of that, her paramour, right? And she's thinking, I'll say this, we'll go here, we'll do this. So, I'm not saying women should be unfaithful to their husbands, but Rupa Goswami is giving this as an example. He says a devotee, he has this material body. So he's, simple living, high thinking. He is maintaining this body, keeping it clean, sleeping, eating properly, so on and so forth. But within his mind, he is concentrating on the spiritual world. You understand? And he's active means he's studying what is that Astakala Leela, what is the pastimes of Krishna. Nectar of Devotion gives 64 qualities of Krishna. So he's studying that, he's actively. And then we're doing hearing and chanting, but we should also do smaranam. Smaranam, that means we should be remembering Krishna. It begins, the Chaitanya Charitamrita begins and says, the absolute truth is one. But to enjoy the bliss of pastimes, Radha and Krishna have separated eternally. To enjoy that bliss, that is the reason for existence. And everything in the creation is a servant of that prema vivarta, that exchange of bliss between Radha and Krishna. So the yogi is training his mind to remember that bliss. This is what Lord Chaitanya has come to give. Meditation. Because like I say, Vasudeva Savamiti, everything is Krishna, yes, it's his energy. But the yogi, that doesn't mean to say we meditate on everything as Krishna, we meditate on Krishna's Leela. Right? So that means we have to actively, with desire, train ourselves to remember that Leela. You understand? And therefore we have smaranam, right? We sing every day. We should remember Yasha, what's that last verse of Dayam Stuvam Trisangam. We what do we do every day when we have Gayatri? We chant the Gayatri mantras. We should meditate on Radha and Krishna and the love between them. So we should actively. That means active within. Just like we're active with this body, walking here and there. But we are controlling the body. We don't want to step in the road under a tom-tom. We should be controlling the mind. You understand? By mantra, by lolam, by being inspired by sadhu sangha, by reading Bhagavatam, and becoming attracted. Then it's easier to control. But we should have that determination, just like, I'll read it again. Before giving up the present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world. So Krishna is giving us direction. Don't become agitated. Be peaceful. And then, in this peaceful material condition, so to speak, fix your mind upon Krishna. Chetadapa, that will naturally come. Vidya vadu jivanam, anandam buddhivadhanam. But it is the vehicle by which we carry the consciousness from entanglement in the material world, particularly recommended is by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Therefore, Bhakti-Vinod Thakur, what does he say? Grihe takko, vanne takko, sada hari bole takko, sukhe dukhe, bulanakko, sada hari nam bolore. Right? So, if you ever become confused, if you don't know what to do, just chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And Krishna, pray to Krishna. Prabhupada explains that many lectures. You pray, oh Krishna, how can I get control of my mind? Please help me. Krishna will help you. He's just asking. He doesn't want to impose himself. His humility is unlimited. But if you surrender to Krishna and say, Krishna, I belong to you, so you control my mind and body. You look after me. That is Savadama Prajada Mamekam Sharanam. That is surrender to Krishna. Then Krishna, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. You understand? So then he'll tell us, oh yes, now this is what I must do. Then we become active within, determined. Okay, thank you very much for coming to the class. Harinam Bhajan, Vrindavan Dham, Sadhu Sangha, Bhagavad-Gita, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you very much.